Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh.
And this is NFGeeks. All right, Josh, you had a topic that we used to talk about in philosophy that you wanted to talk about, and it's one of my favorite topics to talk about, although I have all sorts of issues with it. So why don't you open this up and let's bounce it around. We'll try to find an MBTI connection.
We were going to talk about Nietzsche's theory of nihilism today.
Okay, or nihilism in general, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so why don't you lead us off? What are your issues with it, or how are you feeling about it, or?
Just right now, there's just a lot of things going on that are negative, and I'm just kind of like really digging nihilism right now, because just like everything's either aggravating me, or is like draining me, or is just like seems unfair to me, and I'm just like, fuck all this shit. Nihilism it is.
Sort of like it seems like what you're experiencing is the existential vacuum.
The vacuum
that
is
nothing matters.
Full suction effect.
Yeah. There is no meaning. There's no foundational truth to the universe. Basically there is no, nihilism is that there is no truth. There is no foundational truth.
Right.
It's the belief in nothing. More or less. All right. What behaviors has this led to? You think?
The other day, I was just like waking up to go to class, and I was just like, I'm gonna be in class from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. today, and my first class is gonna be a psychology class, which I literally have probably not paid attention to since the second class of the semester. I literally go to class every day, daydream, scribble in my notebook, or I'm on my phone. I probably have not learned anything other than when I doze in and out of it. And then which is surprising because I'm still passing the class with almost a 3-point something GPA in the class right now, which is amazing. And then my second class is a Portuguese class, which for anybody who knows me knows that I speak fluent Portuguese. So to take Portuguese 101 is just a complete waste of my time. So I'm like in Snooze City in that class. So because it's like the basic beginner ground floor level. So I was like, why the fuck should I even bother going to either one of these classes, especially when I don't even really want to go to my classes, because all my classes this semester have just been irritating me, because I just go and I'm like, oh, fuck this shit. So I was just like, fuck class today, like 3 times. So I was just like, fuck class today, and just stayed home.
Oh.
The other day I was like, fuck work today, and stayed home.
Wow. So that's real. That is existential vacuum, because existential vacuum is when you say fuck.
When you actually, not when you say fuck this, but you do what you're supposed to do anyway. When you say fuck this and you mean fuck this, and you're like, fuck that, and I'm not.
There's no point in doing it. It's totally meaningless. There's no truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been wrestling with this question a lot. About 3 years ago, maybe a little more than 3 years ago, I broke up with somebody with an INFP, actually. We'll call her Beth. That'll be her nickname. And I know you're probably wondering, why did I pick that name? I just gave her a little jab right now with that.
Okay.
But anyway, I broke up with Beth, and one of the questions I had for a whole year is that question: are the nihilists right? Because I was pretty upset about the whole thing. Are the nihilists right? Is there no truth? Is everything just chaos and pointless? And there's no point in even trying anything and doing anything correct? Is there no point in morality? Is there no point in love? Is love simply a
manipulation?
False reality? Right. It's a false reality, and really there is no love, there is no truth, there is no nothing, and we live in this totally mist of reality. And I asked that for a long time. I would talk about it in philosophy. I mean, I know I talk about it anyway, but I would actually say, look, this is bothering me right now. I'm asking this: is there no truth? And I never was a nihilist, I never really was a nihilist, but I never questioned whether nihilism was true or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this really deep depression about it, and I think that's what happens with existential vacuum. You end up you get depressed. I think a level of depression occurs. Do you find that to be true?
I do find it to be very true, because then you just get like pulled down into this like a nexus of yourself that is just negative.
Yes.
Like, oh, you should probably go to the gym today. Why? No one gives a fuck what I look like anyway. It's just so many things like that happen. Now, since you mentioned that she was an INFP, can I ask how it was that the relationship ended?
Oh,
because I want to see if there's a correlation.
It ended. horribly. Basically, INFPs have this rescue thing, and she basically moved on to another guy. She basically had been needed to be rescued more or whatever rescuing I could do couldn't, I reached my limit, and she wanted to go to this other level, and so she did. And so she did a switch.
Just with like no reasoning, and just picked up and was like, no.
Well, I'm sure she had some sort of reasoning in terms of her values or whatever, but
it didn't make sense to you.
Oh,
right?
At the time I thought she was losing her mind. I thought like, oh my God, do I have to take her to a mental hospital? Is that like I thought she was losing her mind, but really that wasn't the case.
So all INFPs are the same. You're all the same, and honestly, you're all bad people.
No, Josh, that's not true.
You're all bad
no,
people.
even though that happened to me, in her, I went into a deep depression. Okay, I don't think that's true. I think that people make mistakes, and when they make mistakes, it's true to type.
You make bad mistakes.
Josh, that's not true. That's not true, man. They're not bad people.
You're not all bad people.
Right.
They
just make...
At least 2 of you are bad people.
Even I don't think she's a bad person. I just think she did something very bad.
At least 1 of you is a bad person.
Okay. Brian, okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to get a ton of comments from INFPs how hurt they are. Because they're easily hurt. You know this.
I only said 1 of you was a bad person.
Okay. But they're going to...
The rest of you are good people.
All right.
As far as I know.
Okay. I think INFPs are fine. Everybody has limits. But it's interesting that somebody so sensitive, okay,
is so hurtful to other people.
Yeah, I know.
You hurt people.
It has the power to throw you off a cliff.
You don't mean to, but you guys hurt people.
I know they don't mean to. They're just lashing out because they're hurt themselves. That's what
But
happens.
it doesn't make sense, because if you just let us help you, not that we're like have crazy powers, but we can like make it through things.
Sure. So do you find that? All right. So then does that mean then the experience of, is that the commonality, that an experience of INFP
is not healthy?
No, that led us to a nihilist questioning.
I think so. So that means Nietzsche was an INFP.
No, he was not an INFP. I think he was an INTJ.
Yeah,
actually,
probably it was an INTJ.
Or an INFJ. It could be an INFJ. All right, but that's interesting in 2 ways, because that when you talk about the nexus, I call it the swamp of melancholy.
The swamp of melancholy.
Yes, where you step into like this quicksand swamp and then you just sink, and because it's so thick, you can't. It's not like water; you can't get back.
You just, no matter how you struggle, you keep going down.
Right. In fact, the struggling causes the depth.
The depth, yeah,
to go down. And so what I think is that NFs get this melancholy nihilism different than the others, because we get so hurt and depressed.
Yeah, because of our like feeling function.
Yes, and just being NFs and feeling so deeply. And what's interesting, how other NFs can knock us into that. You know what I mean? Like an NF, the power of an NF is
NF on NF crime.
Yeah, an NF can knock another NF off their center and into the swamp of melancholy.
Like no one else.
At the bottom where the nexus is.
Right.
That happens. All right, so then let's think about, how can an NF get the heck out of this nihilism that's keeping us in the swamp? What can we do? I mean, I have my own answer.
I don't think you like avoid it or fight it. I think you take it in.
Really?
I think you accept it. Like you let in all of the sadness, the hate. You let it all in, and you use that shit.
Yeah, that's
you
great.
Use it like gasoline.
That's great, because therapy,
and let it propel you into like greatness.
That's great, because therapy would actually agree. Therapeutic models would agree, because what they always try to do is that when you get hurt or you have a trauma, you disassociate, you disconnect it from yourself, you compartmentalize, and then that separation continues the pain. And so what the purpose of therapy is, ideally, is to bring it back and incorporate it back into a wholeness, into a consciousness, and that's the healing, to make it back into you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now I have to admit, to be honest, this is why I still struggle with nihilism every now and then, is I haven't done that fully myself, even though years have gone by now. I haven't fully done that. I've done that better than I did like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, but I can't say that it's fully, that I've fully integrated it into my consciousness.
Right.
Now, what about you?
Oh, I would agree. I would have to severely agree. But I do think that I do it sometimes, and I feel like it helps more on those days than others. So I would recommend me doing it more for myself.
Yeah. And there is, and I know you're not going to feel this way, but there is a compliment. They're not going to take it as a compliment. But a compliment to ENFP, INFP, that they really have a power. That they have a power that they can yield. That they're not weak at all. They're not completely sensitive. They're not, they actually have an ability to wield power. Granted, sometimes it's wielded wrongly, but that's true of any human being. But it shows that they have an NF power that can be used.
See, that's funny because I feel like a lot of INFPs, I don't know a massive amount, and again, I'm probably going to get bitched at, but like the couple that I know, I find them to be like mentally very not strong.
Really?
Mentally weak, very emotionally unstable.
Well, emotions is their power. They are the deepest NF feelers of all the feelers. Of all the NFs, they actually have the deepest feelings, the strongest.
To a fault, maybe, though?
To a point where it's so deep that you can't read them because they're introverted and kind of stoic. So there's things going on deep in them that's so deep you don't know they're going on. And I have a pretty deep sub, okay, because I've had a lot of INFP. I've locked a lot of INFP hours. The doctor's an INFP, believe it or not. And so...
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's true. And, but she's a functional INFP.
Oh!
Yeah.
Thank
immature.
God for that.
No, she is, absolutely.
Congratulations.
Absolutely, I'll give the doctor full credit for that. And but even though we're close, we talk all the time, because, NFs love talking about NF stuff in their relationships. My sub and my sub goes low. I get the doctor more than anybody. She says this all the time. There's things about her I don't know's going on. And she sort of expects me to know, but I don't know. And she has to sort of bubble something up.
We can't know.
Right, it's too deep.
You got to communicate,
INFP.
So
right.
Communication is the word of the year for you.
Sure, I agree. It's too hard for them, I think.
I think so, too.
Yeah,
but they got to learn.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Okay. On the other side of it, we have to help.
You can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make
Well,
him
that's
drink
my problem. The sub only goes so low before it implodes. So, you know what I mean? At some point, I have to stop and hope that a signal comes up.
We can't go like this with the water.
I can't. So it's interesting then, but they must experience nihilism too. It'd be interesting to hear about how the NFs experience nihilism.
Yeah.
And how what makes them sort of get to a place where there is no truth. Especially about love. NFs need at least like to hold on that there is this thing called love.
Yeah,
and when that's broken, boy, that gets scary. You don't think there's love?
Only when I see like a couple like 80-year-olds that have been together for like 50 years.
Oh, that's funny. I think.
But those are like the unicorns.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna totally hurt your reality. Okay, all right.
Other than that, I don't think it's true.
That a fellow ENFP said this, and God, I wish he didn't say this. And now I'm gonna spread it even worse. I always said, and I said this to her. I said, what gives me hope is the same thing: is seeing 80-year-old couples holding hands. And I think, no, love exists. And she said to me, okay. The truth is, look at their hands. They don't have rings. These are people who are old dating, and that real people who have been married for 80 years don't hold hands, and they probably can't stand each other. And if you look at the hands of old people, they don't have rings, and they've just been dating for like a year, and just like everyone else, and that's why they do that. I don't know if that's... Boy, that crushed me. I was like, Jesus, why did you tell me that?
There is no God.
Right, exactly. No, the nihilist are right.
Why would someone do that to you?
No, why did she say that? I mean, she said it in a real kind of analyst. She's one of me. She's the ENFP. She says, Mike, I have to tell you. But
there probably isn't.
No, you're just in a bad place, John. I do believe there's love. I have to say,
just kidding.
I do believe there's love. I do. I mean, maybe that's ridiculous of me, but I do believe it's love.
If there are single female viewers of NFGeeks, I do believe in love. I was just
great NFGeeks dating service. Well, I've always said if I
1-800-FIND-LOVE.
If I use the MBTI to make love relations,
like
use my expertise, because as a matchmaker, I'd make a ton of money. Money would come in hand.
I don't think so, because you said that I was straight to go dating an INFP,
okay.
and I'll tell you that I will never date one ever again.
That's. Okay.
I would probably only date an ENFP or an ENFJ, because I need people that can talk.
Okay, ENFJ and ENFJ I can see, but all right, Remember, individual people have their own foibles and traumas and demons. INFP and ENFJ is a good balance of NF. Just like ENFP, INFJ is a good balance of NF. It really is.
I'll just find another ENFJ. ENFJs are conceited as hell, so why wouldn't I want another one of me around?
Okay. I would still support ENFJ, INFP. Right? I still would support it as a balanced relationship. Look, just because it broke up, that has more to do with youth and people not dealing with themselves.
I will admit
immature.
we are still friends. We're still civil. It still works.
Hey, me and my INFP are not. I've been estranged. I have no idea what she's going on. People could tell me that she's a Mormon. She lives on the International Space Station. I couldn't.
You wouldn't know?
I wouldn't know. She's totally off the radar.
I guess I'm doing better than you.
Yeah, you were doing a lot better than me. To be honest, I've got nothing. You know, it's a mystery, which I suppose is best. Well,
yeah.
All right, so that's our nihilist discussion. I want to say the official position of NFGeeks is that INFPs, individual INFPs,
Before we end it, can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
Because Nietzsche makes the statement that you have to make God dead.
Yes.
Do you really have to kill God to be a believer in someone in nihilism? Can't you have nihilism and God? Why does God have to be this punishing creature that will kill you for living life to the fullest and being slightly nihilistic?
Okay, this is what I would add to that. This is a great question. Is that it's what you have to do isn't that God has to not exist, but whatever you think God is has to not exist, because you're going to attach absolutes to that image, and then you're going to be off and you're not going to be able to grow. There's a great, and this isn't necessarily nihilistic, but there's a great Buddhist saying that I love, which is, if you see Buddha on the road, kill him. And that means that when you think you know what Buddha is, that means you've locked into absolutes, and you're not going to actually get that nirvana or that Zen, because
right.
You have to. So it's not so much you have to kill God. This is the world according to Myers.
You have to unlock God and let him be more than what you think he is.
Yes, or honestly, what Kierkegaard would say is absurd, and accept that God is absurd and unknowable and just beyond human understanding, and everything seems crazy. But it's more like my version of it is, don't get trapped in some idea about God, because that will be absolute, and then you'll be locked into something because you won't want to break the absolute truth, because you've decided it's an absolute truth, like some other organization we know that sent us videos. So you don't want that. You want it. It's same thing about MBTI. You don't want to make that your God. You don't want to say it's absolute truth. I don't think it's absolute truth, even though I talk about it day and night. I don't think it's absolute truth.
Right.
So that's what I would say. You need to eliminate whatever you think God is.
Take the shackles off, baby Jesus.
Yes, except that these are narratives, that these are archetypes, that these are symbols, representations, in order we can make sense of this thing. But the representation isn't one with the thing. You are not one with your name. There's your name, Josh, and it represents you. But you and the name are not, there's a Buddhist thing about this too, you and the name are not identical. You're not one thing.
Right.
So think of it that way. To really get to you, I can't assume the word Josh is Josh. How's that? There's some wisdom.
Paradox.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, anything else?
No, I think this is good.
Did you get out your frustrations about INFP?
It was good. It was good.
Okay, all right.
I love you guys too.
Yeah, of course he does. He's just at a bad place, and I love INFP too. In spite of, right, absolutely. NFGeeks is very...
NFGeeks.
Yeah, NFGeeks is positive for INFP. I've had look at Pat. I love Pat. Pat's one of my closest friends. So, and the doctor's
The doctor!
INFP, right. The doctor, very
Congrats on the
wise
doctor.
women. Yeah, the doctor is on point.
She's in the building.
Yeah.
Not literally, but like metaphysically.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She's a great example of INFP gone right. And I would love to have her on. Someday maybe she will. All right. Thanks, Josh. Another good video. Good job.
Thank you.